Thanks for joining me. This morning we are talking about sourcing and sourcing agents. One of the challenges for people when they're looking to invest, particularly if the investment area is a long way from where they live, is having the time to make regular visits to actually get out and source properties, which is where a sourcing agent potentially comes in. So a sourcing agent is someone who is, in theory, going to be doing due diligence and is going to be sourcing deals, packaging them up, and then marketing them to investors for a fee effectively. So sounds like, a really great service that we could all tap into. Well, let's be honest, it's a little bit like the Wild West, isn't it? The landscape when it comes to sources and sourcing deals. So what's been your experience of sourcing agents so far? Have either of you used a sourcing agent at any stage?
We used one very early on
Okay.
to get, I think it was deal number 2, maybe number 3.
Yeah.
We used a sourcing agent to get that. That was nigh on 10 years ago then.
Was it a positive experience or how did it work?
It was mixed, and I think a lot of people that use sourcing agents would probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
We were still probably a little bit green behind the ears in terms of what we were looking for, and we'd obviously been going through our training, but we didn't know everything that we know now. We ended up turning it into a multi-let
Okay.
early on, so that was a nice little cash flow booster. So the refurb was a little bit over what we were expecting, and there were a few kind of problems that weren't foreseen, but the cash flow ended up being a bit better.
Yeah.
So it was kind of swings and roundabouts. We obviously paid a sourcing fee. We were going to be buying 2 from the sourcing agents, and one of the other ones fell out of bed. It was just the vendor pulled out, and they then kept the sourcing fee. We never kind of saw that back. They said we can roll it over to another deal, but then they didn't have anything else that kind of ticked our boxes, because we never saw that kind of £1,000 or £1,500 back. But I think
Yeah.
you win some, you lose some in property, don't you?
I think that is what's the investor's expectation probably drives the experience a lot, because you do get those armchair investors who want to just park their money in a property, take the yield, and they're quite happy with that. And there are many, many, many sourcing agents out there that will deliver that kind of level of deal. But when you're looking for, you're making your money when you buy, getting the discount, getting your money out, or a large proportion of your money out, that's really quite challenging. And I've got sourcing agents emailing me at the moment, lease option deals. And I'm thinking, and if it's a lease option, why are you not doing that? Because seriously, there's no money to put into it.
Yeah.
So there's sometimes you see things that are a little bit,
unless it needs a chunky old refurb or something like that, and you're sinking 10 grand into of refurb costs into the deal.
Yeah, no, I've looked at it and I'm just like,
Oh.
that's literally just taking that property on for cash flow. So
is it not a lease option? Is it a rent to rent maybe, or is it?
Yeah, again, terminology can change depending on the level of experience and knowledge that the sourcing agents have as well. And
to a degree, it's about knowing what questions to ask, isn't it? Because like you said, there's a big difference between someone just packaging up a property that they found, which essentially anybody could do that. They're just doing your right move search for you, in effect, versus actually something representing a deal.
And I think I've always thought a good quality sourcing agent is going to be finding you off-market deals, as opposed to I found this on the estate agent's website and I've negotiated a couple of grand off.
Yeah. To a certain degree, I can see the appeal. I can see where it would fit, at certain points in your strategy and for certain people and certain circumstances. But it's just, again, it's coming back to doing your due diligence and knowing the questions to ask. So the deals I'm looking to source at the moment are in serviced accommodation. And I know there's probably 3 or 4 key questions that I can rattle off pretty quickly. And that will give me an indication as to whether A, they know what they're talking about when it comes to serviced accommodation, and B, have they genuinely done the due diligence on this as a deal? Because clearly they're going to want to make the numbers look attractive. That you probably need to take some of that with a pinch of salt to a degree and do your own research, which I know, but I don't know, maybe that's just me. I feel I've got to do all the sort of double checking behind the scenes.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, you're the one that's going to be buying the property though, so you're going to want to make sure it stacks up for you. And you're not, even if they were a trusted sourcer that you'd use time and time again, you're still going to check the numbers, because if you have missed something, it's not going to hurt them at the in 5-6 months time when you come to refinance it. It's going to end up affecting your pocket.
And I think if you go onto any property forum and search sources, you're going to see horror stories of people who have paid sourcing fees up front before they've even seen the property, or, you know, all of these kind of big red flags, and got burnt by it. So I guess it's just knowing really, yeah, it's understanding your area research, and knowing that you can qualify a deal that's sent to you, not just taking it as rote and going, oh, well, that looks amazing, they must know what they're talking about.
I was training out in Hong Kong. Interestingly, there was a couple that had tried to buy property in the UK before, you know, they'd attended our training, and they Googled sourcing agents in the UK, right? And like 500 results came up. Now, that is a lot of work to go through 500 to find the good ones.
Yeah.
Because as you know, as percentages, you're going to have a very small percentage of those 500 in the UK that will be of any use.
Yeah. So how do you know if they're good ones? How are we going to identify? How are we going to sift through the good from the bad, do you think?
Well,
You
you
need to
talked
talk
about
to them.
questions. Yeah, questions.
Yeah, definitely. You're not going to gauge how good they are over an email conversation or having a look at maybe a brochure or a pack they've put together, because who said that they've even put that together?
Yeah.
So, you know, actually physically being able to talk to them, asking about experiences, questions is spot on.
Yeah.
I think the big one of the big questions to ask would be, what is a deal to you? What do you actually source on? What do the numbers look like? Can you show me a template example?
Yeah, because they'll use different terminology in different ways to qualify a deal, won't they? So you'll get some sourcing agents who'll talk about the yield, but not necessarily the ROI. And, you know, we might be looking for different things out of it. So I guess also it's about being really clear on what your expectations are and how you qualify a deal.
Yeah.
So that they understand what you're looking for, so that you don't end up with something that doesn't fit your investment model.
Yeah.
I don't like the sourcing agents that want something up front before you've even got a deal or anything like that either. So it's kind of just pay us a reservation fee for when a property crops up, because who's to say you're ever going to see that money again?
Yeah.
I understand if they've got the deal and you go, yes, I want that. I think paying a reservation fee to say, yes, I'm taking it is fair, is 100% fair enough. But I've had a sourcing agent that I was just kind of messaging and chatting to. So would you just pay us the £3,000 as that's your first sourcing fee? So when we source you a deal, you know that's your fee covered. And I said, well, who's to say you're ever going to find something that ticks my boxes?
Yeah. I think, well, it's like with a builder, right? Anyone who asks for money where they haven't qualified themselves, you know, is a bit of a sticking point, isn't it? And I think,
yeah, it's anything up front. I can sort of understand them wanting to protect their business, in the sense that, you know, trying to see it from a sourcer's point of view, they must be plagued with investors trying to find out where that property is, and then just literally going round the sourcing agent and trying to negotiate that deal separately. So I can sort of understand that they would want to protect that and secure that, but like you say, you've just got to be very wary about, you know, putting money up front for something that's at that stage completely unqualified.
I wouldn't necessarily expect to be given a full address of a property and all the fine details of something until I've said, yes, I want it, or I want to get my eyes in there. Because then you've got a good idea of roughly where it is, roughly what the refurb's going to be, the purchase price. You're then going to have an idea of, obviously, you're going to know what it is. You know, is it two beds, two up, two down, or is it a 3-bed semi-detached? So you can then start gauging, well, what's it going to be worth once it's done up? What kind of condition is it? I can start looking at pictures and go, right, it's going to roughly cost me this much. It's starting to stack up in terms of a deal for me from that point. Because ultimately, a lot of the time, you're going to be looking to use a sourcing agent because you're not in that area yourself.
Exactly.
So you might not have a built-in, you might not know of a letting agent. So you're going to want the part of the fee that you're paying the sourcing agent for is to be able to provide that level of service for you. You know, I wouldn't expect a project management fee to be included in there, but at least saying, these are reputable builders that I've used before and they've quoted X amount for the work.
Yeah.
And that's a quote that you could run with.
Yeah, I think it is.
You'd ask for reviews for anything else in the world. So why shouldn't you ask for a review from a sourcing agent with a customer that says, actually, yeah, the service was really good and I would be happy to do business with them again. So I think there's that is it's a no-brainer really to be asking that question. If they can't provide it, what kind of service have they provided to other people in the past?
Yeah.
Well, I guess depending on what company structure they have, right? we're making the assumption that maybe sourcing agents are sole traders, but you know, they could be limited companies that are on Companies House that have credit profiles that you could check out.
It's
Yes.
more about the value that's being provided to you, and what's, you know, I'd be more than happy to pay a hefty sourcing fee if there's a hefty discount associated with that property, and I'm making money when I buy it. If you're getting £2,000 off the asking price or the actual done up value, but you're being asked for £3,000 sourcing fee, then why would you be paying that?
Yeah.
The other way that they can, I mean, I guess sourcing agents can structure their fees however they want. I've known sourcing agents who actually will charge you a percentage of the profit you're going to make when you flip it. Or, you know, you said there, James, about paying a hefty sourcing fee for the discount. But what about a hefty fee for the uplift in the GDP? Same thing, right? So it could be a fixed fee, or it could be a percentage of the price you pay, or a percentage of the profit that you're likely to make, depending on what that deal is. Now, a savvy sourcing agent would, you know, if they're doing in the bigger stuff, you know, let's say it's a commercial to residential conversion, for example, introduces you to the builders, you're going to make 150 grand on it. You know, a sensible sourcing agent will take a percentage of that rather than a fixed fee at the beginning, because they're so confident in
the deal and the actual profit that you're making off of it.
So in fact, actually charging a percentage of that profit gives you a degree of comfort that the sourcing agent knows exactly the quality that they're providing in terms of the deal there. James and I, we hear this all the time. You know, we spend 3 intense days with people and they're like, oh, so overwhelmed. This seems like a lot of effort. They're always looking for the shortcut.
Yes.
And the shortcut is, I'll just get someone to find the deals for me. And there is a time and a place for it when you're starting out. And I would say someone who's very, very time poor. So like our airline pilots who are in the sky most of the time.
But they have to be, there has to be an element of cash richness to their time poorness. They can't be time poor, cash poor, because they're going to struggle to work with the sourcing agent on that front.
There are compliance things that you need to go through, aren't there, to be able to formally package up and sell deals. So what do we know about that side of things, the compliance side of sourcing on deals?
So again, we've said, oh, you'll get an idea of how good a sourcing agent's by how you ask, how they answer certain questions you ask them, but also on the flip side, what questions are they asking of you? Are they, what forms are they getting you to complete? What due diligence are they doing on you and where your money's coming from? That is a pretty good indicator of how good they are. Because if you're like, oh, yeah, I'll pay you that cash, in a brown envelope, and let's you know, let's just keep this, you know, off the books, and you know, that's probably a fairly good indicator of what's going on in the background.
The quality of their paperwork as well. If it's a sourcing agreement on scribbled on a bit of A4, not too keen on that. But if you can tell that it's clearly been created by a solicitor and it ticks all their boxes, they can talk you through various different clauses and things in there, and they put them in there for X, Y, and Z reasons. You go, this seems like a more professional setup.
So I think the bottom line then is proceed with caution, do your due diligence, do your research, make sure that you understand, you understand what a deal looks like in your area, and you're very clear on your investment model. If you're going to source deals on a regular basis, make sure that you understand all the compliance checks that you need to go through to be able to do that. I think we've well and truly covered off sourcing and sourcing agents there. So thank you so much for that. Hope everybody's found that useful. And great to speak to you guys, and I will catch up with you again soon.